This is the sum that we are going to solve now, and this is related to ratio analysis. You can see here that different ratios and a few other information are given in this sum, and you have to prepare the balance sheet and the profit and loss account, and some additional information are also given. So you take a screenshot of this sum and we will move on to the solution part now. So let us move on to the solution part. Here I have solved. The first ratio that is given in the sum is of current ratio. So I have taken that. You can see that the current ratio is 2.5:1. So 2.5 I have written, and we know that the current ratio's formula is current asset divided by current liability. So accordingly I have written that equals to 2.5. Now we don't know both of this, right? Neither we know current asset nor we know current liability. So we have to prepare an equation with the help of the working capital given. That's why we are making a function of these two. So we are making the function of current asset with respect to current liability. We are just substituting CL to the right hand side and making it CA equals to 2.5 into CL. Now we will use this working capital amount given in order to solve for CA and CL. We know that working capital's formula is current asset minus current liability. So we have substituted that and written the exact amount. Now we will put the value of C from this equation, which is 2.5 CL. So we have brought that, and CL we have kept it as CL only, and accordingly we have written 1,80,000. Now we will solve for CL just by using the equations. So 2.5 minus 1 is here. So 2.5 minus 1, it gives you 1.5 CL equals to 1,80,000. That gives you current liabilities equals to 1,80,000 divided by 1.5, you get 1,20,000. So we have got current liabilities. Now by using this current liability figure, we will derive current asset by using this equation. So we will write current asset equals to 2.5 into 1,20,000. That will give you rupees 3 lakh. So we have found current asset as well. Now the next ratio that was given in the sum was quick ratio. You know that quick ratio is related to liquid asset and liquid liability, and how we find liquid asset by deducting the stock from the current asset amount, and we find the liquid liability by deducting the bank overdraft amount from the current liability. Now the stock amount is not given to us, but overdraft is given in the question. So we will use this bank overdraft amount, and we know this too, we have already derived, and we will put all the values in this equation in order to find out the amount of stock. That will be the closing stock. Okay, so let us move on. So we have substituted all the amounts here, and we have solved for S by by using the cross multiplication way, and we have found that stock is equals to 1,20,000. This is the closing stock. Now it is given in the question that closing stock is 20% higher than the opening stock. Now if closing stock is 1,20,000, then opening stock will be 1 lakh. How we have found? By using this formula. 20% of X plus X. X is, suppose X is the opening stock. Then if X is the opening stock and we have to add 20% of X, that will give you the amount of closing stock. So we have formulated this equation and we have solved for X. I am repeating. We will assume that opening stock is X, and since it is mentioned that closing stock is 20% higher, that means 20% of X we have to add to the value of X. That's why we have done simply 20% of X plus X. This is the closing stock. We have formulated this equation by using the assumption of X or the closing stock. And this is equals to 1,20,000 that we have derived. So this is the closing stock equation, and this is equals to 1,20,000. Using this equation and solving for X, we have found out the value of opening stock. That's why here 1 lakh has been written. This you need not have to show always. This is for your understanding. While doing the sum in examination, you need not have to show. Now the next ratio is stock velocity ratio, which is given as 5. We know the formula of stock velocity ratio is cost of goods sold divided by average stock. Now COGS or cost of goods sold we don't know, but we know the average stock. How to calculate average stock? We have to plus add the opening stock with the closing stock, and we have to divide it by 2. That will give you the value of average stock. So we will do that. and find out the COGS. Let us move on. So we have written this was in the denominator, we have put it in the as a multiplier to to 5. So we have just calculated that and found out the value of COGS as 5,50,000. You can solve it and see whether it is correct or not. Now we know that gross profit is equals to sales minus cost of goods sold. This is a known formula. So we will put the value of gross profit from where? From the ratio given in the sum. It is given that gross profit ratio is 20%. That means it is 20% of sales. If you remember, the formula of gross profit ratio is gross profit by sales into 100. So 20% is gross profit, that means it is 20% of sales. So we have substituted gross profit as 0.20, that is 20% of S, which is sales, equals to S, this sales we have written, and minus COGS amount we have brought from here. So simply we will solve, we will bring this 0.20 to the right hand side or to the left hand side, and this 5,50,000 will move on to the left hand side. So I have just written it in the reverse way with the assumption that you know all these types of equations. That's why I have not written all the steps. So if you solve for S, you will get rupees 6,87,500. This gives you sales amount. Therefore, we can easily find out gross profit and net profit from the numbers given in the sum. So gross profit is 20% of sales. So we have written 0.20 of sales, 6,87,500, and we have got 1,37,500. Similarly, for net profit, 10% we have calculated when we have found this amount. So these two are our necessities in order to formulate the profit and loss account. Now again we have to solve for expense, because if you want to prepare the profit and loss account, we need some expense amount, operating expense rather. So we know that from gross profit, if you deduct the expenses, you will ultimately get the net profit. That's why we have written this equation, and we have substituted gross profit and net profit from these two amount, and we have calculated the amount of expenses as 68,750. Next, our next step is we have to make use of this debtors velocity ratio also in order to find out the value of debtors. So let us do that. Debtors velocity is given as 73 days. Now we know debtors velocity's formula is debtors by sales into 365. If it is given in days. Had it been in months, then we would have written 12 instead of 365. So we have just written that, we know the amount of sales, we have solved, we put all the values, sales in place of sales, we have taken 6,87,500, and we have calculated for debtors, and this is the amount of debtors. This goes to your current asset entry. Now we know that current asset, last day also I told you that you have to tally whether the total of debtors and the stock that you have calculated is matching with the total current asset you have calculated. If it is not matching, then there must be some cash amount. So we are doing this operation. Current asset equals to debtors plus stock plus cash. These are the general form. Now we will substitute for current asset from the amount we have calculated earlier. So 3 lakh, debtors we are taking from the debtors derivation, and stock we are taking from the stock derivation. This is the closing stock. Closing stock is our assets, right? Not the opening stock. So we can calculate for cash. After calculating the amount of cash, we are seeing that it is 42,500. Now let us make use of the other ratio, that is proprietary ratio. It is given as 0.6:1. Now we know that the formula of proprietary ratio is fixed asset by shareholders fund, which is 0.6, just straight away from here. Now we don't know either of this. That's why we have to assume. How we will, again, just like the current asset and current liability, we will formulate the equation of one with respect to the other. So we are taking fixed asset and we are we are just transforming this shareholders fund to the right hand side and putting it as a multiplicative form with 0.6. So this equation we will again make use in order to find out fixed asset and shareholders fund. Now we know that shareholders fund, it consists of fixed asset and working capital, right? So we will make use of this form. You have to remember this, okay? Otherwise during solution you will be lost. So you have to remember this, that is shareholders fund is inclusive of the fixed asset as well as the working capital. So we have substituted this fixed asset amount from the function that we have created by writing 0.6 shareholders fund, and working capital we know it is given in the question. This is how we have solved for shareholders fund and found it to be 4,50,000. Now we will make use of the function and derive fixed asset. We know that 0.6 into shareholders fund was a function. So we will substitute shareholders fund with 4,50,000 and find out fixed asset. It is coming as 2,70,000. Now there are no more findings to be taken care of. So let us move on to the profit and loss account now. So this is the date, closing date that is given in the question. We have taken that. Now this is the profit and loss account. Not much entries will be there because we don't know much of it. That's why we know the gross profit amount. We write in the credit side. This is the amount, and expense we have calculated. This is the amount. Net profit also we have calculated, and this you can see that if you put it as a balancing figure, this total of these two will match with the total of gross profit. So these two sides are matching. Now we will prepare the balance sheet. In balance sheet also there won't be much entries. We know that shareholders fund is there and current liabilities is there on the liabilities side. So simply we will put those two. We will not write separately the net profit or the other type of liabilities. We don't know, right? So we will assume that all the net profits and the other funds may be related to reserves of surplus also, that will all be written accumulately as shareholders fund. So we will write that it was 4,50,000 as we have derived. If you remember, in the sum capital was given as 4 lakh and it is shareholders fund is becoming 4,50,000. So this 50,000 can be the amount of the reserves and surplus, maybe we don't know because it is not given in the sum. So it is always better to write shareholders fund in total. So yes, we are writing 4,50,000 according to our findings. Similarly, current liabilities also we have found out. So we are writing 1,20,000. Then fixed asset we have found out 2,70,000. Current asset, 3 items we have found. Total current asset was, if you remember, it was 3 lakh, right? So this stock, debtors and cash should match with this 3 lakh. Total of this 3 should match with 3 lakh. So it is matching. Okay, you can calculate later on, and then this is how we can see that both the sides are tallying. That's why our sum is done. Thank you. I hope you have understood. If you have not understood anything, if anything is unclear, you can put your queries in the comment box. I will reply at the earliest. Thank you.